computer.
Oh, we're
This
live.
hangout is on air and live. So what's up, everybody? Unrested here with Grand, also known as Bjorn, who just got here to Japan. How many days ago now?
2 days.
2 days ago. 48 hours. And he's already had an interview because that's how we move in Japan time. All right, you get here, you put on that suit, you just start interviewing motherfucker. Just do it. So he's here. I'm here. Hopefully one day Rich is going to come here since his name is Rich in Japan. Kyle plans on coming here eventually. And Dan has been here multiple times before. And Jared, have you ever been to Japan? Are you coming to Japan? What are you going to do about Japan?
I'm definitely going to come to Japan, and I'm really working really hard to try to get here.
All right, so he plans also to come to Japan. So the reason I'm bringing that up today is because today's topic, before I introduce each one of us, is studying Japanese so that you can speak the Nihongo when you come to Japan. So starting off me, I'm Unrested. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Grand. I'm here. I don't know. I do know some Japanese, but I don't know how to read or write.
Okay, that's enough.
You, sir.
Sure. All right, Richard, you're next.
Hey guys, I'm Rich in Japan, except I'm not in Japan. And I am self-teaching myself Japanese.
I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. All right. I'm sorry, Kyle's next on my screen. Gotta go by who's on my screen.
What's up, everybody? Whoa, what was that noise? That was an awful noise.
Every time I turn up my volume, there's some kind of squawk from my computer. It's quite strange.
Dear God, that's not good. I'm well rested. That's my YouTube page, and I'm currently at university majoring in Japanese.
Perfect.
Am I next?
Yep.
Awesome. I'm Jared, and I want to apologize for no camera this time. Got to fix the computer. But I do plan on hitting Japan, and I'm going to major in Japanese language and literature and major in creative writing. So I'll be over there teaching English pretty soon, hopefully.
I just want to let everybody know, Jared, there's no reason to lie. We know you're buck naked. Dan, go ahead.
Damn it! You guys knew it. Ah, shit.
What's up, guys? I'm Dan. I am in the process of learning Japanese, and I am going to school in Japan in approximately, 196 days over there in good old Osaka for Japanese language school.
So, perfect. I'm just going to bring it up one more time and let you know each of our situation as far as learning and having learned and will learn Japanese. We've got some very unique situations that are different for each one of us, but we'll give each of you a kind of perspective as to how, why, and what we are doing to study Japanese. We've got myself. I literally knew no Japanese before I came to Japan. I tried to study some books. It was useless because I didn't realize I'm moving to Kansai, where they speak Kansai then. So I learned Japanese by coming here to Japan. That's pretty much how I learned. Bjorn's kind of doing the same thing right now, right? You're pretty much living by immersion. That's what I call this. Kyle is literally going to college for it right now in America. Richard, did you study it in college?
No. Well, technically, yes. I've been self-teaching myself since college.
Okay, so he's done studying on his own since he was in college. Richard, are you planning on taking Japanese courses?
No. I'm already graduated from college, and we had no language options there. And
Okay.
with my loan situation, can't really afford it, so.
Yeah, well, me too. I mean, I come from Florida, and there's not even any fucking Japanese classes at any college there. It's like, you want to learn Spanish or you want to learn Spanish? So,
Listen,
a bunch
that's
of
what's really
Chinese kids
weird.
there.
I live in this tiny-ass town in western Pennsylvania, and my university offers, like, every Asian language you can think of. We got both dialects of Chinese. We've got Korean. We've got Hindi. We've got... It goes all the way down to... We have... they teach Swahili at my school. So, I mean, they have a whole crap ton of languages that you can go to my school and take.
Interesting. Well, okay, and then we've got our final situation, which is Dan, who will be coming to Japan, and this is maybe something some of you haven't heard of before. He's coming to Japan, and he's taking Japanese at a Japanese language school, which is kind of a little bit of a unique situation. Is it count for college credits, Dan?
No, it's more of just a technical college.
Right,
So.
that's what I figured. Okay, that tends to be what they are. Is they're a technical college. You literally come here and are immersed into a very heavy study program. This probably the most difficult program that anybody is going to go through is going to be Dan's program, because from what I hear, you learn something upwards of 1,000 kanji a week, if I'm correct.
I'm not totally sure because I asked about the kanji, and I guess that's more of like an elective thing. Like you can like have that as one of your 2 elective classes each semester, which I'll probably do. That's
I think Dan's thinking, I hope I don't have to learn that many that quickly.
1,000 kanji in 1 week would be brutally hard. But I have heard of classes here that make people do that. I've heard yours might not be that brutal because I think that tends to be. But his class will be taught totally in Japanese. Am I correct?
Yeah. I got when I came there and checked out the school, I got to sit in on a class and it was like completely 100% in Japanese. So.
Okay. Definitely. Yeah.
Which
and guys, that's the way to learn a
way to learn.
language. If you really want to learn a language, yeah, you need to have somebody teach it to you in the language, even if it's the most simple aspects, and even if you're guessing at what the words mean that they're saying. You're still learning much faster, much quicker, and you're being immersed in the language that way. So what we're going to talk about now is our own philosophies on studying, how we've studied by ourselves, because a lot of us have done a lot of studying on our own time, not connected to a school, and what are some of the influences that we use to study, such as anime, manga, video games, etc., etc., and as they say in Japanese, nado, nado, nado. So, okay, so I'll start with myself. I myself was an idiot and did not really learn anything before I came here. Luckily for me, I kind of got stuck in a thrown to the dogs situation where my company went bankrupt, my apartment was taken away because my company went bankrupt, and I was pretty much thrown into the fire and made to learn Japanese from day one. I guess I should say from the second month that I was here. So I had to learn pretty much everything. I also learned a lot from dating Japanese women, it's true. Be careful if you do that, because you may find yourself tending to talk like a female even though you're a male, because there are some female words.
I do that.
That's okay.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, I wasn't so bad as to say atashi instead of watashi, but I did have some stuff. Like I used to say like ne or kan.
I do that.
Much so.
That's how I get my friends' attention in Japanese class. I go, ne.
Yeah, that's girly, dude. Okay, so that's kind of like my experience. I was kind of just thrown to the dogs. Bjorn, what's been your experience so far? Like, how have you been teaching yourself, or what have been your influences and stuff?
My influences hasn't been language, actually. It's been more culture.
Okay.
And just experience.
Yeah, I guess I should mention he's just moved to Japan 2 days ago, but you've been here, what, 2 or 3 times before? 2 times before. So he has had past experience with the language and the people. So. How about... Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I don't want to cut you off. Rich, what about you? What were your study influences?
Well, I really want to make my way into the gaming industry over there at some point, so I need to make sure that I can get up to the fluent level. So I've been trying to like cram everything in. I tried Rosetta Stone, and that was utter balls. And I started actually using Pimsleur's, and Pimsleur's approach is really good. And then Kyle actually got me on Genki, so I've been using Genki.
Oh, Genki's good, yeah.
I also had a native Japanese speaker like look everything over with Pimsleur's, and Pimsleur's approach is just a little outdated, but it's still really functional and really good. But I would have preferred something visual to go along with it, because at one point like they were saying how to say the weather was nice, which is iyo tenki desu ne, and it sounded like they were saying denki, and I didn't have anything visual, so I didn't know it was actually tenki.
Oh yeah.
Te.
My mother came here to Japan and said that when she was like, "Kyo no tenki wa, or no, kyo no denki wa dou desu ka?" How's the electricity today? Well, I don't know. It's electric today.
Yano,
so
don't
yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
The electricity is bad.
Tanky and dinky, a very common mistake, not a big problem. All right, good. Kyle, what about you? How have you been studying, and what have been your influences?
All right, so I started studying Japanese about 2.5 years ago. Yeah, that sounds about right. 2.5 years ago, by coming across an ebook written and published by Tofugu. You can find it on his website for free at textfugu.com. It's called Hiragana 42. I taught myself hiragana in 3.5 hours. From there, I still wasn't in uni yet, but I didn't know if I wanted to go to uni or what I wanted to do. So I got myself into Ken Cannon's Japanese through Anime course, which isn't a bad course, but it's not really what you'd expect, because he speaks to you predominantly in English and just sort of gives you like vocabulary and a general idea on how to use it. You don't focus much on particles. It just wasn't for me, but it might be for some people. So give it a shot if you think that it would help you. Then I moved on to Rosetta Stone, which I agree with Rich isn't the greatest, but if you're looking for something and you have money to spare and you're just going for like maybe 2-3 weeks and you just need something real quick, Rosetta Stone has a real quick course that'll give you all the basics to kind of be able to say hi and whatever. It's not great though. It's not for fluency.
Yeah, if anybody tells you, like I've had people write to me, they're like, my friend said they learned to speak fluent Japanese in 1 month from Rosetta Stone. Is that true? No, your friend's a fucking idiot. Go die.
Rosetta Stone costs like 300 something bucks, and Pimsleu's approach costs like $20. And Pimsleu's approach is audio only, but it's still really good.
I've never used Pimsleu's. From Rosetta Stone, I applied to uni and got in to my program, and then I started doing Japanese in class. They wanted us to learn hiragana in 2 weeks. I already knew it. After that, we learned katakana in about a week, and then we moved on to kanji. My experience hasn't been bad. Actually, my only real issue is that my teacher is female, and so she kind of teaches how to speak like a girl, which is already bad enough for me because I already do that. So aside from my Japanese probably being a little feminine, I'd say that I've tried a few things, and uni is definitely my best option. Like for me, being taught in a classroom is what works. Our class uses Genki.
You got it upside down, by the way.
He uses Genki, and this has helped a lot.
Yeah, Genki's a good. I would recommend Genki. I've studied Genki. I've studied Japanese for busy people, and I've studied Minna no Nihongo, and I recommend all 3 of those books. So Kyle's got a good textbook there.
I've also used.
I've
also used Heisig's Remembering the Kanji.
That's one I haven't used at all.
He also has one called Heisig's Remembering the Kana. So if you want to learn hiragana, katakana.
There's my only problem with Heisig is he has a separate one for kana and a separate one for image memorization and mnemonic device memorization. I really feel like the kana, and if you don't know what I mean when I say kana, that's like the pronunciation for the kanji that you're looking at. So, for example, if we look at, for flying, tobu, like, if you just look at the kanji, how would you know that it's tobu without actually seeing the hiragana that goes with it? So, I guess what he's done is split it up into 2 different packages so that he can market it for more money, but in my personal opinion, I think you should have them both together.
Actually, from what I'm to understand is when he wrote Remembering the Kanji, it was years and years after that he wrote Remembering the Kana, because people kept asking him to teach them the kana.
Yeah, because you can't say the word if you don't know.
Well, if you've ever used that, he's not teaching you how to say the word.
He's
using nothing to do with that. He's teaching you how to recognize the symbol. It's up to you to use. It's not teaching you anything but how to remember the kanji, and it gives you an English word to associate with it. It's up to you to learn the actual Japanese word for it and how it's used properly. This is strictly just so you recognize.
Yeah.
It's not like you cannot learn Japanese with remembering the kanji. Don't try.
No. That wouldn't make sense unless you.
It's for to use while you're also like learning Japanese. If you want like a fast way to use mnemonic devices to remember something.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, don't try to use it to talk. It wouldn't make any sense.
the best way that I've learned how to do any of these is by drilling, and that sounds really old school, but sitting down and writing the kana or the kanji is the only way that it stays in my head.
Well, that's the way
That's
they
the only way to do that.
They have books that are literally just like tons of squares, and they have to keep writing the kanji over and over in those squares. All right, Jared, what do you do to study Japanese on your own free time? What do you use for influences or books or whatever?
My first encounter with the Japanese language was through anime, but my interest in Japan grew from its history, so I kind of was looking at that. But what I used first was the poor man's version of Rosetta Stone, which is called Instant Immersion, and it's like $30. And it really didn't help me too much. It's you have audio and you have like little toys or games or whatever you do with it, but it really didn't help that much. And even though I put it on repeat and listen, it didn't really help too much. So I would have friends who live in Japan, or my best friend who happens to be part Japanese who's fluent in it, teach me some words. And through anime and manga and all that other stuff, I've built up my basis of very common phrases, so I can understand a little bit, but not too much. And so far, I'm looking for good things that help with my writing and learning how to read it, because I'm very poor at that.
Well, my opinion is if you want to learn hiragana real quick, download Tofugu's book. It's free, and it'll teach you how to read. It's not going to teach you how to write them. That's something you got to do on your own, but it will teach you how to read them.
All right, I'll definitely look into that.
All right, excellent. And Dan, what have you been doing on your time?
What I started with, like, the first time I came to Japan, I knew absolutely nothing, like, dick for Japanese. And then after that, when I got home, I started with Pimsleur's approach, like Rich, and it's pretty useful. I mean, the way they present it it makes it stick pretty quickly. And then just bought Japanese for Dummies. That helped out a bit, and then just for like the hiragana and katakana, just like Kyle said, just drilled it, like writing it, doing flashcards with it, stuff like that. Unfortunately, I've been slacking a bit in my studies, and I've forgotten quite a bit, so I need to brush back up.
It's all right. I mean, it's kind of hard to be inspired when you live in a country where people barely speak it. So it's understandable. I will say that like half the reason I can speak as much as I do is because I have to use it every day. I mean, if I didn't, I would lose it just as fast as anybody else. Okay, good. So let's move on to a different one. What would you say was like your first kind of inspiration that made you want to study Japanese? Like, what did you first play or see or watch or read that you were like, damn, I want to learn, or I want to go to Japan? I guess all of our goals is to go to Japan. 2 of us are already here. The rest are on the way. What inspired you so much? Like, what did you see, read, or do that you were like, holy shit, Japan's the place I want to go and I want to learn the language too? I guess I'll start with me personally. It was kind of a job situation that got me over here, but at the same time, there were other aspects where I guess there was always kind of this mysticism around Japan and higher level of technology that I imagined, which is only slightly true. Yeah. There's so many things here that are super old too. So I think I kind of fooled myself at some points. And don't feel bad if that's your reason for coming here. If you've got some kind of outdated reason or something that you were like, oh, it's not completely like that. That's okay. You'll still be pleasantly surprised by other aspects. As far as like media inspiration, probably my first introduction ever to Japanese was when I watched Akira, the anime Akira, when I was like 10 or 11. I didn't know I wanted to go to Japan then, but I was like, holy shit, like look at this animation. They built scale models to like blow stuff up and retro, what do you call it when you draw over it? Retro, I forget what you say, but you draw over top of a picture and to get your art better, and they did that with the explosions to make the explosions in the anime, and I just thought that was like mind-blowing. I was just like, oh my god, how would you put that much work into just cartoons? And I think my inspiration grew from there. What about you?
Well, my first introduction to Japanese was through Ninja Scroll 1.
Oh, okay.
Well, looking back, I was 8 years when I saw it, and that's not Film I would show my 8-year-old. I don't have kids, but I don't have kids, which is good, I guess. But I came here because of the culture and the people and the food. And
Food is good.
it wasn't a. I expected less when I came here the first time. When I came here this time, I was like, yeah.
You knew what to expect.
Yeah, I knew what to expect, but this time I could also expect this to be.
I guess that's kind of important to tell everyone is like, have things that you look forward to, but don't have things that you expect because it might be a little bit different than what you expect. All right,
I
so
expect it to be hot in the summertime.
it is fucking
My God.
brutal, and there's no central air conditioning, so right now we're pumping 60 for Tommy Matt AC to keep this room cool. Let's go on to Richard. Richard, what was your first inspirational thing that you watched, saw, or read?
Back when I was around 5 or 6, I got these world books. They had like Mickey Mouse and everything, and he was like traveling the world and whatnot. And I had one of them was Japan, and I really thought like the whole culture was awesome because like it taught you about like some traditions, samurai and origami and all that stuff. Fun stuff for the kids. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then this spy thing for kids was out when I was like around 10, and they had a Japan one, and I freaking got that. I actually still have one of the books that came with it all these years. And I don't know, I just love the rich culture and everything of ancient Japan, and it just really interests me. Especially modern Japan's cultural norms just are interesting. They're so polite and keep to themselves.
Incredibly polite. If there's ever a country you want to be in when some sort of riotous act happens, you want to be in Japan because there are no riots. Kyle, what about you? What was your first inspiration?
My first inspiration would have probably been, oh boy, probably Pokemon. I mean, just from like childhood, remembering that was like my first real taste of what Japan was doing as far as media was concerned. I mean, and they are different. The ones.
Like, donuts look really weird in Japan.
Yeah. So like, it wasn't really like real great, but when I got into high school, I started sitting at a table with a bunch of kids who were really into like anime and manga and things like that. And from there, I sort of got introduced to more stuff. Yeah, exactly. And from there, I started watching some dramas, and one day I came across one of Victor's videos. That was before I even knew people. That was before I even realized that you could be like an American and go move to Japan. Came across one of Victor's videos called "Sad and Lonely in Japan," and just started watching these videos from people, and I was like, "What?"
If anybody wants to know, every single one of us here watched Victor. Even I watched him before I came. I watched him and Hiko Simon before I came to Japan.
Yeah, I came across Victor, Hiko Simon, and then Molly.
Molly, really? Wow, he's been around.
Yeah.
I started out with Victor, then all of a sudden I found Scott.
Mm-hmm.
But finding Victor's videos, and then finding some of Tikio Sam's older videos, seeing like Americans speaking Japanese sort of like made me interested in focusing on the language.
Okay.
Obviously, my first job when I come to Japan is going to be an English teacher, but I don't intend to constantly teach English. I want to do something with the language. I'm going to pass the JL.
Something else we should let everybody know is that I think probably all of us intend to move on. Like, I mean, I've already kind of moved on to my own thing for drawing. I think the rest of us tend to either want to start our own business or go into another business here.
Yeah, I'd like to, if it's ever possible, I just want to open a bakery when I'm older. That'd be cool.
Yes.
But really, I'd like to get into like translation or something.
Oh, okay. Maybe like Richard and do some localization too.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, how about you, Jarrett? What was your first experience with any sort of Japanese type thing?
It would actually be a World War II book that I was looking at. Since my dad was a Marine, I was interested in history and all that other stuff. And when I saw Japan and how they talked about their like unwavering mentality, it just kind of struck a chord with me as like, how do you get people to do that? And then I saw it was just a cultural norm back then, and it still kind of is now. And just then, Japan just hit my interest mark through the roof. And then it was anime, and then I met one of my best friends who happened to be half Japanese, and he taught me and talked to me about it, and it kind of just fell into my lap one after another as soon as I hit high school.
That's kind of interesting that you were inspired by nationalistic, like Empire of the Sun Japanese.
Yeah, it,
That's
it,
what you call the gaijin out of Japan.
it was the Empire. It got me. But yeah, when it came to though finding people, I was iffy about wanting to go to Japan. 'Cause honestly, I never thought I'd make it. But actually, Scott, your videos were the first ones I saw, and went like your very early videos, and they had me rolling because some of them were pretty funny, and it just drove me to find Victor and Charla and all these other people, and now I have this giant dream to go to Japan and just be there and love it.
Yeah, it's total. I mean, I never ever, when I was ever younger, I never had the dream to go here. Like, I never even ever expected I would go here, and then I ended up here. So if I can get here, anybody who has the dream to actually get here will get here in time. So,
yeah, mine was never a dream from like being young and wanting to go there. That this all literally, my whole plan just started in the last 2.5, 3 years.
And that's fine too. I didn't decide up until like 6 months before I came here that I showed up.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, how about you?
My first real experience, like when I was younger, I had a friend who was really interested in Japan, and she always took me to like this Japanese supermarket out in the suburbs of Chicago, and that kind of put the initial interest in. And then, but I was never like really big into anime or anything like that. But what really set it off for me is when my buddy got stationed out there with the military. One of my best friends, he's like, "Hey, dude, come over and visit." I was like, "You know what? Place to stay, makes it affordable. I'll come over and see Japan." So I went over there and was just absolutely blown away at just how different everything was. Like, I really like being outside of my comfort zone, and I think that was one of my biggest attractions to it, was just being out of my comfort zone.
Can I ask, Dan, were you at the Yokohama base or were you at the Okinawa base?
What's that?
Were you at Yokohama or Okinawa when you visited?
Sasebo.
Oh, Sasebo! I totally forgot Sasebo.
Yep. So yeah, I was there for 2 weeks, and then knew I was coming back. Came back next time for a month. Came back again for another month, and I was like, that pretty much made my decision that I wanted to come over and live there.
And when you come to study this time, do you plan to live here forever after that, or do you have a long-term plan?
I'm open to that. But I'm not positive. Like, I know I could spend the better part of 4 or 5 years there, but I mean, I might stay there for the rest of my life. You know, I might move back to the States, move to another country. I'm not sure.
Right.
Kind of play it by ear.
Right, you're kind of a let the cards fall where they may type of person. That's fine.
Exactly.
All right, awesome. So I think what we'll do now is we've got about less than 30 minutes left. We've got about 22 minutes left. I think we should open it up to questions because I posted yesterday for questions, so we got ourselves quite a decent amount of questions. And the great thing is this time, since it's an open topic of studying Japanese, it's questions we can all answer. Not that I mind when people ask me personal questions. Oh, look, there's my son on camera. Hopefully he's so tiny people can't see him. Hey, bud, what do you need? You got your shirt on backwards, by the way. Oh, I'm not gonna worry about it. It's live camera. I can't do anything. So we're going to just start with the questions because we've got 22 minutes. We've got quite a few. There's quite a bit we can go through, and the great thing is they're not directed solely to me. Anybody can answer them. All right. Number one. It's from Chris here. He says, can anyone recommend a good audiobook for learning Japanese or to supplement written study? So I think that's Kyle, that might actually be your question to answer.
Audiobooks. There's not really any audio book, but you can try Pimsleur's approach like Rich has. You can do video courses like Ken Cannon's Japanese through Anime. Again, that's really...
I gotta
It's
agree.
not the
I'm thinking
greatest.
about it right now, and Kyle's right. I can't think of any. The only way that
I have one.
I
I have one that you could try out that I saw on Amazon. I myself have not tested it, but I know they have it online, but they also have workbooks for it, and it's Japanese from 0, and it starts at 1 and then moves up on courses taking you through hiragana, katakana, kanji, and so forth, and all this other
But
stuff.
things similar to ebooks, you can try Japanese Pod 101.
Yeah, that's what I was
podcast learning site.
Japanese Pod 101 is great. They have from beginner to advanced, and
Yeah.
I've listened to a lot of their advanced stuff, and it actually is very helpful. It's very real-to-life Japanese, street Japanese, and the casual Japanese is really modern and updated.
You can check out Victor's series Japanese for Morons. He does small lessons that way. You can check out Text Fugu, which has some audio lessons within it. That's Tofugu's ebook way to learn Japanese. Yeah, that's about all that I have. I've used Japanese Pod, though. That's not bad. JapanesePod101.com, I believe.
Yeah, they're great. I highly recommend. There's a lot of free ones.
Yeah, you don't have to pay. A lot of them are free. Oh, another one. Oh, man. Your points are, like, they give you points, and they're, like, in the form of, I think it's called Busu Berry. That's another one that's predominantly audio-based, and it's not the greatest, but it's not bad. If you're self-teaching and you prefer audio over visual, I would recommend Japanese Pod 101 over just about anything else, though.
Yeah, me too. All right, I'm just going to move us on just because I want to give everybody the proper time. Alexis asks, not acts, I'm having difficulty rolling my R's, which makes proper pronunciation painful. My writing abilities are okay, but I'm just unable to get it right. Any advice? Oh, I've got it for this. Can I take this one?
Go for it.
This was a problem for me too, and what I found out, what I learned over time, is the reason, Japanese people usually can't pronounce our R's and our L's. It's where your tongue is in your mouth. Their tongue, for their words, tends to be back farther in their mouth, and that messes up them pronouncing our R's. But we have our tongue too far forward, and that messes us up pronouncing theirs. My advice for kind of a shortcut or I guess I'll say like a makeshift way of doing it until you can get your tongue used to that position is try using a D-type sound instead of an R-type sound, because it's almost like a solid D-type sound instead.
Oh, it's got freeze?
Yeah. Yeah. So like if you've got a word like, let me think, lowly, all right? I'd say rori instead. It's a great example for a word to use. All right, moving us on to the next one.
Another thing.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Just one thing to throw in. Hold on, Scott.
Yeah.
One more place. If you need like just a little more solid advice on your rolling your R, again, Text Fugu. He has video series on how to pronounce all the kana. One of which is the R's, and he teaches you kind of a way to do it fairly well. So might be worth looking into there.
And we'd like to thank our sponsor today, TextFood. No, I'm just joking. We're not sponsored by anything we're promoting here today, guys, so just in case you're wondering, we're not. Yansan Rasu, who last week was completely embarrassed that they spelled English wrong and would like to let everybody know they had their German autocorrect on, and that's why it said English with a C. So I'm going to go ahead and announce that for you, Yansan. It's not your fault. It's autocorrect. Don't worry, we understand. If we embarrassed you online, now we're going to go ahead and embarrass ourselves online for making the mistake. Yansan Rasu says, how the F do you guys learn kanji? I just can't write them at all. Reading isn't a problem, though. I'm just going to, just my quick 2 cents, I'm just going to say, don't worry so much about kanji before you can speak. That's my personal advice.
Yeah, that's good. Focus on your speaking, and focus on being able to read and write your hiragana and katakana. Kanji will come. And always, 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 when you learn them, and you start to write them in the appropriate stroke order, because sometimes when you write them and you don't use the right stroke order, some Japanese people look at you like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
You
you
don't
won't
read that.
quite understand it until you watch a Japanese person write in a T or an S or an E in the weirdest fucking way you've ever seen possible, and you're like, holy shit, what the hell are they writing? That's how they look at you when you write your kanji with the wrong stroke order. They're like, what is this? They're like, it looks like a drawing, it doesn't look like a character. That's what they'll tell you. I've had that happen.
And for remembering them, mnemonics. Mnemonics can be really great. If you can make up a silly story about the kanji you're looking at, or even the kana, you're going to remember it better.
Yeah, definitely don't start kanji if you don't know any single word in Japanese, because it'll be ultimately useless to you until you learn the words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and do realize there's some words that don't have a kanji. Like there's some words that are completely in hiragana, or some words that are completely in katakana. Like they have no kanji equivalent. So that's why we say it's important. There's 46 hiragana. Learn those first. There's 2,000 plus kanji that are used every day. Just worry about those after. Don't try to like overwhelm yourself.
Yeah. Like Genki does a really good approach with that. If you're looking for a book, they slowly introduce it.
Same with Japanese for busy people. All right, we've got what is that sound? Someone getting a lot of feedback there. Who's that?
I don't know.
Somebody okay? Everybody okay? Okay, whoever it was, they're done. All right. Question. Okay, wait. This person's got a question that I've got to open it up a little bit. I'm not sure how many of your guests have used Remembering the Kanji Volume 1. I actually have that book. I just gave it to Bjorn, actually. But if so, I'm curious as to what they did afterwards to practice pronunciation of the kanji. Well, that's where using spoken words is important. I would say it's important that if you really want to learn how to speak Japanese before you get to Japan, you need a Japanese Skype friend. That's the only way you're going to do it. You know, they may tell you, oh, some certain tips and tricks are try to talk Japanese to your pets, or put Japanese labels on everything and talk like to objects in your room in Japanese. It's not going to work. Because guess what? When they talk back to you in Japanese, you're not going to understand a damn word they're saying, because your pronunciation is going to be so bad. So
if you need to practice, if you need to practice pronunciation without a speaking partner, take your favorite drama, take your favorite anime, learn the lines, learn them, and shadow the show exactly as it's going on. Not a line right after. Learn it to the point where you can recite it as they recite it, and make sure that your pronunciation is on par with that. Yeah. If you don't want to talk to people, use media, and use it in a way that you wouldn't think to normally.
My first one that I ever studied from was called Tokyo Friends. You can find that on YouTube for free, the whole series. It's a pretty bad, boring, stupid series. But it's good, like, for learning, because they use very simplistic Japanese.
Yeah, you could also use music if you'd like. That's actually a big help.
You got to be careful with music if you're going for pronunciation, simply because sometimes it's just not quite right because they're singing.
Yeah, the main thing I worry about with music is sometimes, I mean, lyrics can lead you into some pretty weird combinations. Think about Beck, like if you tried to learn English from Beck. Well, there's the equivalent in Japanese. So they're saying, like, you know, you're going to shave your face in the dark with a can of mace and the cheese whiz and all that. They're like, what the this guy high as fuck, man.
It's like learning Japanese from Baby Metal.
Eating the mushrooms. Yeah, don't learn Japanese from Baby Metal. Because actually they use pretty old Japanese. They use words.
They use some pretty old Japanese.
Yeah. Their word for actor, I'd never seen it before. I was like, what the fuck is this? And they're like, that word means actor from like Edo era. Like, okay.
Wow.
Dude, talk about like really getting into the art.
Good one. Juan says, I think if you know Spanish, both French and Japanese are easier. I have heard this. This is true. I've heard your pronunciation of R in Japanese tends to be better if you already know Spanish. How do I start off my writing, and how do I pronounce the words that I'm writing? It's kind of a very vague question. What are you trying to write? I would say start off your writing with hiragana, like we've talked to with everybody else.
All right, here, let's go through it real quick. A, I, U, E, O, Ka, Ki, Ku, Ke, Ko, Sa, Shi, Su, Se, So, Ta, Chi, Tsu, De, To. Ha, he, hu, hey, ho.
And don't forget Pape Pupe Po.
Yeah,
Mexican
Pape,
Samurai.
Bobby Bube
Mexican
Bo.
Samurai has a video on pronunciation where
That is
him and his wife go over pronunciations.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's writing though. Writing, find yourself a book that's going to show you the stroke order, because even the kana have stroke order. If you follow the stroke order, it's normally easier to actually remember them and write them. Truly.
Yeah, he's right. Even the hiragana and the katakana have a stroke order. You got to stick to it, or you're going to screw yourself up or make a Japanese person laugh.
Oh, especially katakana, because like look at Bjorn's last name in katakana, and you'll understand.
Yours is like a million characters. It's like more characters in Japanese than it is in English, which is rare. Like it's so many. All right, Carolyn says, I've heard that when it comes to learning stroke by stroke, like the Japanese do in school, is generally the slowest and least productive way of learning. Wow, someone counteracting exactly what we just said. I've been trying to figure out which methods would be the most functional. I don't know who told you that writing in the order, they write in that order for a specific reason because it's the most efficient way. If you try to do crossing like different lines at a different way, or like putting your bushu on a different way, or like adding stuff like that in your own specific way, you're eventually going to reach a point where you're going to forget the order in which to do something because of that. So
yeah,
there's a reason
go ahead.
to do it that way. This is a country that's been practicing that for thousands of years. I think they've learned the best way to do it compared to us.
You got to remember that as an English speaker, or even most languages in Western countries, we're not trying to personalize the way we write Japanese, okay? You don't do that.
No.
Japanese is pictographic, okay? You need to make sure that what you're writing is legible in a way that they're going to be able to do it. It's not like handwriting over here. You can't think about it that way. You got to kind of throw that out of the ball, like throw it out of the window. You're not trying to personalize the way you write your kana.
Yeah, there's no cursive kanji. There's no bubble kanji. You're not going to dot your bushu with hearts. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'm not sure who told you that, Carolyn. I would tell that person that perhaps they're not Japanese, I would imagine. If they're not, then their advice might be a bit funky. Selena said, I'd like to... Oh, I'm sorry, someone's still talking?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just saying, learning the way that the kids learn is probably the best way to start. Because, I mean...
You've got to learn the language like a little kid. You've got to do it. I mean, you start from zero, man. Like, you've got to start like a little kid. Selena says, I'd like to know, how do you learn kanji, and how do you remember its meaning as well? We've kind of already covered it. I'm going to skip this one, guys. Sorry. We've kind of pretty much beat that one into the ground. Brian says, I know depending on where you are in Japan, the pronunciation of some words are different. I'm guessing he means like dialects. I wanted to know if the pronunciations are drastically different compared to others, and if so, should I be using specific resources for pronunciations from Osaka? Well, in Osaka we have Kansai Ben, also known as Osaka Ben, and I will tell you that almost 100% of the books that you're going to buy from the store or get in school are Kanto Ben, which is Tokyo Japanese. This is just because you're going to make the Japanese come from the most densely populated part of Japan, let's be honest. And that's the #1 spoken type of Japanese. The pronunciation is...
Go on strike for that.
Pronunciation doesn't become different. I think what you're looking for is suffixes become different. For example, if you have the word wakarimasen in Keigo, in Osaka you would say wakarehen. That means that masen becomes hen instead. You have some words that completely switch out. For example, in Kanto Ben, for the word very or really, we'd say totemo. But here in Osaka, we'd say mecha, and in Okinawa, they'd say nagara. So some words just completely switch out. We have, of course, arigato. Here, sometimes we say okini. So I think that's kind of what you're looking for. There's not really a change in pronunciation. Because you got to remember, there's 46 sounds. Those 46 sounds don't change.
There's more than 46.
Yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about. Go ahead, explain.
There's 46 base kana, and those are your 46 base noises. Sorry
You're
if my
talking
like
like triple sets, right? In the small tsu, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like added little things like the small tsu, which will lead to an elongated sound. Generally, it means there's a consonant following a consonant, which doesn't happen generally in Japanese. It's normally always consonant vowel, consonant vowel.
But for example, my name has the tsu in it to make it a double consonant. Scotto.
Scotto. Yeah, there's like a small pause because of the double T. And then there's like the Z sound, like zoo.
Yeah.
There's ja.
And there's also like combinations with the ya, you, yo.
Oh yeah.
Ya, you, ge, yo.
Really, there's about 80 different tonal sounds in Japanese.
But it's very limited compared to the English language. In which
we have over 3,000, I think.
So pronunciation will always be the same for those, though. When you see those hiragana, they won't be pronounced different in any other part of Japan. But the way in which they're arranged to make a suffix for the word, or sometimes a prefix, sometimes. For example, just recently one I learned, instead of saying shinai for like don't do, in Kanagawa they say sen. I've never heard this before. They just say the word sen for shinai. So again, another word totally ripped apart, replaced with another one. Why, I don't know. I don't have etymological history on any words here in Japan. Just know.
Yeah. Really, the thing is, don't worry about your pronunciation. But depending on what area you go to, you might sound foreign to them with the way you speak. But you're going to learn the most common form of Japanese. Learning a prefectural Japanese is going to happen when you're in that prefecture.
Yeah, he's totally right. There's only one book I know. It's just called literally Colloquial Osaka Japanese. That's the name of the book. It's a yellow book, and it shows two people on the front cover talking to each other in Osaka Ben. And that's the only book I've ever seen that has Osaka Ben in it. You're better off just learn Kanto Ben. It's understood in every part of Japan. Same with all the other dialects. They tend to be pretty much understood, aside from some suffixes they might not know. The only one that they say is a little bit hard for other parts to understand is some Okinawa Japanese is very, very different. And sometimes words that are still spoken by Ainu, which is a small tribe up in Hokkaido. But I mean, that's so minute that it's not really even going to phase anything. We're at the last 4 minutes of this one. Guys, I think we'll go ahead and start to close it out here by talking about what would you, as the audience, great questions, by the way, today, audience, like to see next week. And while we're doing that, is there any questions actually posted on the, did anyone post any more, like while we were doing that, or while we put the link up for the site and everything? So I want to make sure we don't skip anybody.
Nothing on YouTube except for is Nani no Nihongo, a good book.
Where is what?
Noni no Nihongo, what's that?
Oh, Mina no Nihongo.
Mina no Nihongo. I've never heard of Nani no Nihongo.
Mina no Nihongo literally means everyone's Japanese. It's a book. On the front cover, it has, if I'm correct, it's a, what do you call the bird with the big tail feather that's really colorful? A pheasant, right? Is that right?
Peacock.
A peacock. That's what I'm an idiot. It's got a big peacock, like about this size, on the front cover, and that's a bird that's often drawn here in Japan, and that's how you'll know that you're getting the right series. Mina no Nihongo has book 1 through 3, and it progressively gets harder. So does Japanese for Busy People. Falling apart here at the end. And so those are both great books. I would recommend both, honestly. Anything else? Any other questions on there?
I don't think there were any other questions, but for those of you who are learning and who want reading material, kids' books, okay?
Kids' books are perfect.
Yes. Learn. Right. The best way to learn a language is to learn like a child.
Yeah. Momotaro is a famous kid's story here. The Bamboo Princess is a famous fairy tale here. and there's one, I don't know what the heck it's called. It's about the Swan Princess, I think, where she's like a swan that they take care of, and then she
I don't
turns
know
back
that
into a swan later.
That
It's a
was a
weird one.
crane.
It's pretty weird.
I thought it was a crane.
Too.
Oh, it might be a crane rather than a swan.
It's like an old couple takes care of a crane,
Oh,
and she
it's a
knits.
crane. Oh, I'm sorry, the Crane Princess. I
Okay.
apologize.
I can't remember it though.
You're right. You're right. I think you're totally right. I'm pretty sure it's a crane. I'm not a good birdologist, so I don't remember very well.
I can't tell you
There's
what
a
the
difference
actual
between a peasant and a pheasant and a peacock.
It's a peacock. So good.
But,
Guys, great questions today. Seriously, those were very great critical thinking questions that really got us thinking, and hopefully you thinking too about how you'd like to study Japanese. We'd like your suggestions for next week to see what we should talk about. We'll talk about a couple of our things that we've considered are watching a Japanese horror movie together. We kind of covered Japanese horror movies, so we're not going to do that. Maybe dramas for the future. Or maybe a good one, since we kind of talked about it this time, would be a series. That's a Japanese series such as Shinya Shokudo, Neko Taxi. What are some of your favorites? Mozu?
Neko Taxi? Like Cat Taxi?
Yeah, Neko Taxi's great. Have you watched it?
No, I've never even heard of that.
Oh, you want to watch that, man. It's a great show.
Hey Scott, real quick. For anyone out there who wants to learn language, I know a lot of J-bloggers have a lot of stuff on there. Abroad in Japan, he has some rather interesting videos. And also there is, for those of you Minecrafters, there is a Minecraft server where you can go on and actually learn Japanese, and there are native speakers there who can teach you, and they have it set up to where you can actually learn how to take the JLPT from a Minecraft server, and you learn Japanese all through Minecraft. It's awesome. It's the address is minecraftacademy.org. That's what you put in for the server address on your Minecraft, and it is currently running 1.7.4, so set that up on your Minecraft, and you can get on, start learning Japanese. They have an entire university set up there, and it's a successful experiment. It was an experiment when I first joined in, and it became a very successful one, and made news all over the internets. So.
All right, excellent, good resource. That's a really unique aspect of it. Good for gamers like yourself. All right, guys, like I said, throw your suggestions at us for next week. We're going to go ahead and end it here at exactly 3:30. Perfect show, guys. Great questions. Until next week, I'm Unrested. This is
Grand.
I'm Rich.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Dan.
And we are out, everybody. Great show. Talk to you next week.
We love you all.
Will be.